welcome to a new vlog for me. I totally forgot to turn off the floor fan. I'm sorry about that, but it's 85 degrees in my house. So fingers crossed the new AC comes soon. That's what I'm telling myself. I'm like, this is temporary. Everything in life is temporary. As I always tell y'all, you will get through it. But let's look at the weekly TBR, starting out with the weekly quote. After all, tomorrow is another day. See, it's all temporary. And that's coming from Margaret Mitchell, who wrote Gone with the Wind, if you're not familiar. So let's look at, again, the weekly TBR. That's what we're here to talk about. So the first book that I read in the morning is Appalachian Reckoning, a region responds to Hillbilly Elegy by Anthony Harkins and Meredith McCarroll. I think the title sums up perfectly what this book is about. But the story, essay that I read today, I thought it was a story at first. It read fiction. Like, it is Keep Your Elegy, The Appalachia I Know Is Very Much Alive by Ivy Brashear. It starts out just really talking about her personal experience in Appalachia. So that's what I thought this was going to be. And then at the end, it did go all into J.D. Vance and everything. So I did like that one for the most part. I do think I liked how it gave us that personal story and then, it took a turn to the other stuff. So that's what I'm reading in the morning. And then my main focus, so I could finish this book today. I'm not sure. I don't know. I have like a less than a quarter of it left. We'll just have to see if I finish it or not. But that is A History of Milan under the Sforza by Cecilia Mary Addy. Definitely butchered her name in last week's vlog. Sorry about that. But again, nonfiction, pretty self-explanatory title. If you don't know, the Sforza were ruling in Milan, the Duchy of Milan. They were the Dukes of Milan in the 1400s, probably going into the 1500s. I haven't got that far yet, but it does go there. Which is during the Renaissance. They had the likes of Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo at their courts in Milan in northern Italy, which Milan is a special place to me. I only feel so annoying because I think of people who probably knew me back then when I went to Italy, and they're like, it wasn't that cool. Like, yeah. So I'm always like, but I highly doubt those people watch my vlogs. Like, I know Corinne might, but yeah, like, Corinne is awesome. So I know she's not judging me, but like other people, I don't know, they might be judging me. But like, Milan was such an amazing place, such a beautiful place, such great culture, food, all of that. So it has a special place in my heart. So I want to know more of the history about it. And we went by like Sforza Castle like every day. So that's that one. And then my mood read, which again, I should be finishing this tonight, and that is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. This is about Shay, who she is listening to a podcast, a true crime podcast, and finds out that her college roommate had a very mysterious death that was ruled as a suicide, but it could have been a murder. She goes back to New York where where the body was, and is taking the investigation into her own hands, but she also reaches out to the podcaster, and they go on this quest together to find out what happened to Shay's friend. Next we have my ebook, which is Edge of Eternity by Ken Follett. I am like 40% of the way into this book, and I hear Amazon outside, so hopefully he doesn't ring the doorbell. So this is my ebook pick right now, and where I'm currently at, we're in England. Some of our characters are Welsh and American, but they're mainly English, and we are really seeing the early days of rock and roll with the Beatles, all of that fun stuff. We have characters who are musicians, and we're just in London at that time. So that is what is happening in Edge of Eternity, which is kind of refreshing because we've had all these really like political heavy plot lines, and now we're just kind of having fun with some teenage characters and rock and roll. So that's that. But I also wanted to show y'all the July TBR if you haven't watched that video. So this is the order I will be reading the books in. First being our book club pick, which I will be starting after the Sforza one, and that is The Clan of the Cave Bear by Jane M. Hall. Next we have Every Rising Sun by Jamila Ahmed. We have a reread, and that is The Everlasting by Katie Simpson Smith. We have my graphic novel pick, which is here by Richard McGuire. Lastly, we have my nonfiction pick, and that is The Chalice and the Blade, Our History, Our Future by Ryan Eisler. There is not a genre theme. These are the books that I have been wanting to get to for a really long time and haven't gotten around to getting to, but it's finally going to be happening in July of 2025, my birthday month, so that's fun. And that's why, like, in July, I just treat myself with my reading books that I really want to get to and about topics that really fascinate me. Chime in the singles. So I did get a new bookcase to go upstairs, you know, upstairs where I don't have air conditioning in general. I do not have it at all up there, but I am going to bring my neck fan with me, so I am cool and everything. So we're gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna finish it, but I'm gonna at least start building it. I'm gonna try to record with my phone, but it just depends on the setup and everything, if I can get my phone somewhere to record, because I don't want to drag up a tripod when I'm dragging up all this other stuff, but there's stuff. I don't know how well y'all can hear me, but my dad's getting me so bad when I was recording, doing the little screws on these on the base, but he brought me up. I know this is, that's why we're working on this room. We're making it better, but it's a storage room. But he brought me up that fan, so I have this fan and I have that fan. But yeah, this is our project for next summer, is the AC up here. It's not as big as a flaw as the one downstairs. This one, just the fan is messed up where it just won't go for a long time. So that's our project for next year. Okay, I'm really scared. So if I screw this in all the way that it goes, there will not be enough room for it to pop out of here. And so I was like, okay, I'll just have it up a little bit, and hopefully when I start spinning this part, you know, that connects, that it would just get tighter. But no, that's not the case, and I can do this for so long and it's not getting tight. So I'm very, very scared that something is wrong here. See, if I do it all the way down, that's not tall enough for this to meet that. When if I do have it tall enough, it just won't screw into place. So what is happening here? Okay, I flipped the screw around and did it this way, so hopefully, let's see. Yeah, it's still not long enough. So did I get a default? Like, I'm gonna be so pissed off, especially since I'm up here in like 90-degree weather. Y'all, I'm so frustrated. It's only been a few seconds since the last clip, but I'm just gonna show y'all. So I have that little bit out, and we're going to put this on top, and I've tried this is not getting tighter, it's staying loose. So what is wrong here? So my next guess on what to do is just to get another one of these boards, because I'm thinking these holes might be too deep. I don't know. Okay, so I went and got another one of the boards, and also still the same issue. So this thing, I'm just gonna ask my dad to see if he can figure this out, and if he can, then I'm going to assume that I got a default, which I have worked with this company. I don't work with them, but I've bought from this company, let's say, yeah, a handful, maybe like 5 or 6 times. So I've never had this issue before, so this is really disheartening. And now my dad's not responding to my text when he could respond about hockey, but helping me with the bookshelf, no. Okay, somehow I just got this one to work on the front. So we're gonna keep trying. Okay, that was too good to be true, because I just, went to tighten it a little bit and it came undone completely. Like, what just happened? Okay, yeah, nothing here is working, and it is almost time to read again, so I'm gonna go back downstairs and read. My thing is, if this is a default, my dad never returns shit, so I will it will just sit around, and I can't just have these parts of a bookshelf sitting around. It would drive me bonkers, and I would feel really bad just throwing this stuff into a dumpster, because it's good quality stuff, except apparently I can't screw anything into it, so I guess it is trash. But hopefully my dad does finally see my text and comes up here and tries to fix this. But to me it's looking like a bust. And my horoscope, I know, to all the people who are like, that's fake, I don't care what you think. So it said that today is like the shadow of Mercury in retrograde to show what it's going to be like, so there can be technical difficulties and that kind of thing. So I'm guessing that's what that meant, that this is my technical difficulty of the day. But yeah, I'm hot, kind of bitter, so I'm going to go downstairs, hydrate, and read. So sure enough, once my dad answered the phone, he was able to find out what the issue was. And it was something I had already tried, but for some reason it didn't work for me the first time I did it. Basically, with those bottom ones, you had to twirl both at the same time, and that just, I couldn't do that, but my dad did that. So he did the first shelf, the bottom one, and then I did the rest. So I'm gonna put the books on top now. I do it in order of genre, so right now I just have historical fiction books, so that is right there, but you know, the other genres will come before that. I only rearrange as we go on, so that is the first step of the shelf. So I got it wrong earlier when I told y'all I had a quarter of the book left. I actually had half of the book left, but now I'm at 77% of the way into A History of Milan under the Sforza. So I'm going to go over the notes that I took today, which is only 2. This is a lot about like Ludovico Sforza. So this is kind of like past my time of what I know about the Sforza. And another reason I'm reading this book is for inspiration for my own writing, because I would one day like to write something that is taking place, you know, in Milan and dealing with the Sforza. Like if I ever wrote a historical fiction, that is one subject that I would like to write on, but I'm somebody who I have to do a ton of research. I have to know a lot before I actually go and write something. So again, that could be way into the future, but for research, so just writing some things down for like inspiration and all of that. But as I said, Ludovico is somebody I didn't know a lot about. He was the brother of Gian Galeazzo, and they were son of Francesco Sforza and Bianca Visconti. So if you've seen the show Medici it's on Amazon now in the United States. Their characters on that show. Ludovico is on he's on the Borgias, and he's on the Leonardo show. That's by the creators of Medici, but I haven't got around to watching it yet, but I do hope to do that in the future. So he has been an adaptation, so you might have, you know, seen him in something. But his closest allies were Maximilian, who was the Holy Roman Emperor. And now I'm kind of just curious about the Holy Roman Emperor, how they claim the title Roman. Nothing in there, but it just made me start thinking. And so I was like, what did people at the time who, you know, did have knowledge on the Roman Empire and everything, what did they think of the Habsburgs using that title? Because it was like Maximilian, King of the Romans, is how it's stated in here. But obviously, you know, he's ruling in Austria or Spain. So, you know, just very different than what the Roman Empire was. Roman Empire and Holy Roman Empire are 2 different things, to let y'all know. But so that was one of Ludovico's closest allies. And the other was Sultan Bajazet. Can't read my handwriting, and I don't know Turkish, I'm assuming. So I wanted to look into that Sultan. I know that the Sultans and Naples had some feuds and all that, or maybe the Venetians. So as you can see, I don't know that much, so I do want to know more about how the Ottomans and how the Italians were handling each other. And at the time of Ludovico's death, the 2 key words to describe him were fear and ambition. So I wanted to just make note of that. So I'm like, okay, when I think of Ludovico, this is what I need to think of. Also with him, he was the second son when Gian Galeazzo was the first son. Gian Galeazzo was a lot like his father. He was more of a warlord, military man. He was a tyrant, and Ludovico was the second son. He was not raised to be the duke, but eventually he does become duke. He was more of your typical Renaissance man. He was the one to commission the Last Supper painting, which I have, you know, was blessed to see that in person. So he did a lot of work with Leonardo da Vinci. And so he was just a lot more relaxed, I would say, than Francesco. Like, he was a lot more chill of a person. Not Francesco, I keep saying Francesco, I mean Jean Galeazzo. So there's that. But I do have more that I'm going to say when I actually write my review, because, you know, I have been reading this book. This was my 3rd day reading the book, so this one is not going down to be finished in June. This one will be finished in July. So we're gonna have to see if I finish The Last Housewife today or not. I have not taken a picture of my books because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to finish, and I don't want to add The Last Housewife into the picture, and I don't end up finishing it because then I'll have a book in the picture that I didn't finish in June, and that would just be awkward. So we're just gonna wait and take the picture tomorrow when I know what's done is done when we get to tomorrow. Tomorrow's scary. I go in for treatment for my gum disease, which, you don't know, I haven't had treatment in like 2 years, but it started regressing. So, and it's a new hygienist as well. Like, I had her last time, but she's not the one who I had my original treatment with. So I'm like nervous now, but once I get there I'll be fine, and be like at the office I'll be fine. But like now, just right now thinking about it, I'm like, I'm scared, I don't know how it's gonna go. But afterwards I'm going to go get some seafood, come home, and then later, so yeah, I don't even know if I'm gonna get to read at 3 tomorrow because my appointment's at 2. That's also kind of different, and so that I'm kind of nervous about, because I typically have appointments in the late morning, but yeah, they were jam-packed. Like, this was, they wanted to get me in closer, but to my last appointment, but there was just no room, so I had to wait till July 1st, which I was like, that is fine. Like, I'm in no rush, I'm not in pain or anything, knock on wood, even though, you know, it's gonna be treated tomorrow anyway. But it's at a different time, so it's like I'm gonna have to wait longer, because I'm just gonna have to be waiting till 2 rather than, you know, waking up and going to the dentist. So kind of nervous, but as I said, I'm gonna be going to Barnes & Noble tomorrow as well, and it's my birthday month, so I can just treat myself. And that's always fun, treating yourself. I just finished The Last Housewife, and believe it or not, I actually really enjoyed this. I'm somebody who struggles with thrillers, and out of her books, I had not heard great things about this one. I've heard good things, but her other book, the In My Dream I Hold a Knife or whatever, people love that book. So this one is the one that seems like it didn't hit the same. It has like sophomore syndrome or whatever. But I thought this was a great book. We're gonna go through Call Pal. I am not writing down, you know, my what I'm rating each thing, because I don't have my journal in here. But let's talk about the characters first and foremost. So at first I was really like, I'm unsure how I feel about them. And at the end of the day, I don't have an emotional connection to these characters. And I'm mainly talking about the character of Shay. But she is such a smart character, a realistic character, a self-aware character. And I think for this kind of story that I was being told, because I went places that I had no idea it would go, it just makes so much sense of how we got from point A to point B. Again, I didn't feel a connection to these characters. I didn't like these characters. I didn't hate these characters, but I do think they were incredibly well written. So like, if we are doing the Call Pal, I would get that a 4-star. Atmosphere, this is like an academic setting, timelines, but then mainly it will focus on the modern day timeline. But we do have some of those flashbacks just to get us started into the story. So if you like the upstate New York, Hudson Valley, this is like a very like rich area. And as I said, the academic setting, everything stems back to Whitney, which is a university college, whatever. That is like a very like liberal arts, and that like the incels, they're like, it's Nazi feminist and all this. So, you know, that kind of place, like ultra liberal, I guess. And when you think like liberal New England, like the rich, and yeah, they're ultra feminist and all of that. So where it's like, because Shay was Miss Texas, you know, she's a beauty queen from Texas. Y'all know, you have that image in your head. So when she goes to the school, like, she doesn't tell anybody about her past doing pageants, because that's just not really viewed as like, they're like, you're putting yourself out there for men, and that kind of thing. So it's just not, she would be judged for that. So again, atmosphere I would give a 4 because I did love the academic parts, and then the flashbacks just felt so much like you're watching a college setting in a movie from 2014, which is when the flashbacks are happening. The writing, this is the one where I really don't know what to rate it. My first thought's 3, but again, like a 3.5. So I'm not sure where I'm going to rate the writing, because it's good writing. I don't really have complaints about the writing. Just at times it can be on your nose, but I think that's going to fall more onto the plot. But another thing with the writing, so the start and the finish of the book. Okay, the start, it took me a little bit to get into, because I was like, okay, this is going to be your stereotypical feminist thriller. But wait, when we get to this middle part, it is just crazy. And then the end is a bit out there, in my opinion. So I do think there are kind of some issues with the pacing. So I guess I've never done like the decimal and call pal, so I guess I would say a 3.5. And then with some of the dialogue, it'd just be like nobody talks like that, but at the same time, these characters, our main characters that we're seeing, interact with each other. They're all very intellectual people, because as I said, how I described Whitney to you, and then we had these like very ultra rich people. We have journalists and writers, so they are very like well educated people. So I have to remind myself of that, being like, yeah, maybe they would talk like that, and I'm just not in those kind of circles of people. So but let's talk about the plot. The plot, again, like I want to give the plot in itself a 5 of we're uncovering this cult, and it's just crazy, it's insane. I've never read anything like it. But then so that the plot itself, but then we have the themes, where the feminist themes are just so on the nose, in your face. Like the author doesn't trust you to get the point of this story, and I'm like, I get it, you don't need to be telling me all this, I understand, you don't have to keep reminding me. So I thought that was just kind of annoying. But the plot of I love when it's amateurs who are going after a case rather than the professionals, you know, like police or FBI or detectives or whatever. I love when it's just a normal person. This girl finds out on a podcast that her college roommate had a suspicious death, and she's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to reach out to this podcast guy, and we're going to find out what happened to Laurel. And I love that kind of mystery. That's just my preference for mysteries, thrillers, is the amateur doing the discovering, and then it being just this crazy cult that we have. It is based on a true cult, and just if you've been watching the news for the past 10 years, this kind of stuff is legit happening, and it's terrifying. It's crazy. But again, speaking of like the ending was just so out there at times, where I was like, is this really happening? I'm like, it does make sense that we ended up here, and it makes sense that the arc of the story did end up at this place. And that's the thing, when I was talking about the pacing, this is a very slow story. I mean, it's only 364 pages, which is an average book length, but it is a slow building process getting there. But it makes so much sense. Like, I don't think we could have got this story if we didn't have that slow pacing. I guess plot, we're doing a 4, since I think the themes, the author didn't really trust us with that. Intrigue, I'm having to think like this again, a 4, so everything is like a 4, because again, the pacing issues, but my jaw dropped, I think, twice reading this, and that's a good thing. And then enjoyment, yeah, I did really enjoy my time with this book. So somewhere in the 4-star category is where this is going to rank. I definitely would recommend that you guys pick up The Last Housewife, and this is the last book that I read in the month of June. So I think I finished 10 books in June, but I'm not sure, but we'll have to see. So that's June. I hope you guys had a happy June, by the way. Hey guys, I am back home after all my adventures today. So if I have like blood on my teeth, which the front didn't bleed that bad, that is why. But I was there for like an hour and a half. Oh, there's Fred. He just got out from under the bed. But like, I feel really like guilty, and I told my dad I feel guilty because he was like complaining about having to wait that long for me. I'm like, you could have just gone. So, because he had other stuff to do this morning. And so I feel bad about making somebody wait. but at the same time, like, you could have done something. And I've had this book for 3 months, so I'll be back in October there. I do want to show y'all, oh well, I got all my, and it's my receipt, all my goodies with my toothbrush and everything in there. And so I didn't read in the 3 o'clock hour, but I did read Appalachian Reckoning already. I guess it'd be labeled as a poem. I'm not sure what it would be labeled as, but I do want to show y'all what I picked up at the bookstore. I have my list of books because hopefully I get to go to indie bookstores this year, because like last summer I was going to a lot of indie bookstores and I did find this one, so I can mark that off. But I have a list of books that I'm like really wanting at the moment, because again, I don't really have a theme for my reading in July, so I don't have a theme for my buying either. So I just have a list of books that are really calling my name at the moment. So first I did get another F1 Lego set. I've done a Red Bull car and I've done an Alpine car, so who knows which one we will get next. I would love to get the Mercedes because that's my team. So I did see they had like a big McLaren car, like maybe like that big, but you know, I don't want to do something like that. But let me show you all the books. There's like, the covers are all very similar. First, I have Clear by Karis Davies, a singular crystalline novel about a life-changing encounter between two men on a remote island. I think this is the one, and the Scottish clearances, a period in the 19th century that saw whole communities of the rural poor driven off the land in a relentless program of forced evictions. So, I mean, that is awful to be happening, and I think this man is like the last one on the island, and they are like, dude, you gotta go. And these chapters look really short, and it's a short book. So we have that one. Then we have Evenings and Weekends by Ocean McKenna. I'm sorry that I am definitely mispronouncing that. Okay, was this author? Where was she from? Born in Wales. This one, he was born in Dublin and lives in London. But this one is a stunning novel that follows a vibrant multi-generational cast of characters through a London heat wave as their simmering tensions and secrets come to head over a feverish, life-changing weekend. And that is so like what is happening right now with how hot it is. So these chapters look like they are a bit more on the longer side, or maybe that was 2 chapters right there. So let's see chapter 6. Okay, they're like medium length, but I think this one seems like they're really like summer read. We have that, and the last one is Isola. So I'm gonna make sure that I don't show any of my card info on there. So Isola by Allegra Goodman. This is the one I had kind of a hard time finding, but it was up at the front. So this one is, let's see where author, she lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I was not expecting that. I thought she was gonna be Scottish. An unforgettable story of love, faith, and defiance. This is in New France. Heir to a fortune, Marguerite is destined for a life of prosperity and gentility, but then she is orphaned, and her guardian, an enigmatic, I can never say that word, and volatile man, spends her inheritance and assists she accompany him on an expedition to New France. Isolated and afraid, Marguerite befriends her guardian's servant, and the two develop an intense attraction. But when their relationship is discovered, they are brutally punished and abandoned on a small island with no hope for rescue. So these are the ones where I think the covers are kind of similar, but I am going to read a lot of like British and Irish literature. That is just what I'm really drawn to. I really wanted The Bee Sting by Paul Murray, but they did not have it. Like Mary Kami, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, like had the whole end section. Like it was crazy the amount of books that they had by that person. But these are the vibes that I was going for. And again, hopefully I get to go to some indie bookstores this month and look for books on my list. What time is it? It's 5:37, so I might start my Lego thing. I do want to take a picture of the books that I got. Here's what they look like from the side. But yeah, good trip to Barnes & Noble today. I felt really chill. I saw a girl who was like full on goth. It was so cool. Like she was in like an Edwardian dress, and it was like, you know, like she definitely had a corset on, and like her hair was like this like silvery black, and I was just like, oh my gosh, she is so cool. I didn't get to compliment her because she went by quite fast, but yeah, I thought, can you tell, like, is that fine to tell a goth person like you look so cool? Like, is that cool? Or do I just be like, I love your outfit? Like, just that, I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it was a lot of, well, the mall has a curfew that starts at I think 3 p.m. that teenagers have to be accompanied with an adult, because all like the gun violence and armed robbery, they're only as teenagers. Like, it's so sad that it's young people who are throwing their lives away and going to prison. But so the mall had to implement a curfew, a 3 p.m. curfew, and I'm like, they probably think I'm a little kid in there. So it was a lot of just like you know, people like my age, young adults who are in the store, and then like moms with kids, because it is summer break. So that's my little chit chat with y'all for this afternoon, I guess. Got to 96% of the way into the book. I know y'all are probably like, why didn't you just finish it? Because what I read today, so what these chapters were about was explaining the impact that the Sforza family had on architecture, literature, and art in Milan, and I mean, you know, technically in world history, I guess, because, you know, I told y'all yesterday they have Leonardo da Vinci on their side. He would be the big one. That Ludovico, so Da Vinci is known for never finishing his work, so he would probably be a really like awful artist to hire. But I can relate to that, where he has these ideas but would never really get around to finishing it. But Ludovico Sforza was cool with that. He let Leonardo da Vinci do his own thing, and he thought it was a good idea to have da Vinci on his side, to have an inventor, because Ludovico, as we talked about, was not a military man. He was the second son, very much a Renaissance man. So he put a lot of that military stuff into da Vinci's hands, and da Vinci was creating a lot of military machines, which on the show Medici on Amazon, it's on Amazon now, they do go into seeing some of Da Vinci's inventions that he was making for the Duke of Milan. And then, yeah, as I said, the architecture, the churches, the castle, all of that. And then literature, where it wasn't really an intellectual place, Milan was. In the ancient world and in Roman times, Athens and Greece were always viewed as intellectual places. I don't really know at this time in the Renaissance where that was. If it was still Greece. I don't really even know what was happening in Greece at this time period. Was it Ottoman control? I don't know. So if y'all know anything about where was like the intellectual place, maybe France. If y'all know, I was reading all this, and like I just told y'all everything that I was reading, but I didn't feel like I was taking it in fully. Like, it wasn't sticking. It was kind of, you know, going in one ear out the other, even though it's physically reading, even though I could just commute all of that to y'all what I was reading about. So it is hot, and y'all know how I was feeling mentally earlier, but this is charged up now, my neck fan, so I'm gonna put that on while I eat dinner. I also need to write my wrap-up post for June, for June, since we finished up on all of that. But I'm going to have some dinner. Dinner's warm, so that's why I'm really happy about the fan, that I let it charge all day. So this usually lasts me the whole day. The fan. This is the U of Miami or Utah, but it will last me pretty much the whole day. And I mean, it's 7:30 late. It's probably like 7:15. So actually, I probably will work on my wrap up first, because then at 7:30 I want to keep the cats on their routine, because they did get fed a little bit late yesterday, just because of when the dogs were out, because the dogs have to go out at a later time now, because obviously it's so hot and I don't want my dogs out there in 95-degree weather. That's just not good. So they have been going out really early in the morning, and then not really late at night, but you know, once it gets back down into the 80s rather than being out in the 90s. So that is the update of what's happening in my life. And we will be starting a new book at 9, so I will come back in a little bit to tell y'all what that book's about. It is such chaos I have going on over here. I just have such a mess. Like, at least my bed is made, but there's this stuff everywhere. But I might have ice cream on my lips. I only had one scoop because I didn't know my gums would be sensitive, but they're fine. They feel fine. Yeah, when I've had my gum treatment done, my gum disease treatment, I've never had pain in my gums afterwards. Knock on wood, I've never had like extreme sensitivity afterwards. So I don't know, maybe my people, my hygienists are just very good. And hello, young man. Hello. So we're here to talk about the next book we're gonna be reading. I don't remember if I got this one in North Carolina. I think I might have. I'm not sure, but it is called Every Bone a Prayer by Ashley Blooms. And let's see what it is about. Misty's holler looks like one of 1,000 hollers that fork through the Appalachian Mountains. But Misty knows her home is different. She may be only 10, but she hears things. Even the crawdads in the creek have something to say if you listen. All that Misty's sister Penny wants to talk about are the strange objects that start appearing outside their trailer. The grown-ups mutter about sins and punishment, but that doesn't scare Misty. Nothing like the hurtful thing that's been happening to her, the hurtful thing that is becoming part of her. Ever since her neighbor William cornered her in the barn, she must figure out how to get back to the Misty she was before, the Misty who wasn't afraid to listen. This is the story of one tough-as-nails girl whose choices are few but whose fight is boundless as her coping becomes a battle cry for everyone around her. Every Bone a Prayer is a beautifully honest exploration of healing and hope. Okay, when it said like that guy was cornering her, that scares me. I am worried for this character. But the part of like she can hear everything and then like the strange objects that are appearing, that all sounds really interesting to me. Yeah, it says terrifying, intimate, and magical on the blurb on the cover. So I don't know where this tag is from. So I might have got this at Malaprops in Asheville. But I'm not sure. It's Source Books, which Source Books to me is only indie, I think. Okay, so she was raised in Cutchin, Kentucky, now lives in Berea, Kentucky, which when we go to the Midwest, we only stay there. Not always, but you know. And then so she went to the University of Mississippi, and I just felt like there's this gunk all over my face. But we're going to be starting that. Hopefully it's good. It sounds very intriguing. I don't even know what genre this book is when I log it into Goodreads and I'm reading it. We shall see. It's looking like I got the book secondhand. I am thinking on eBay. Hey guys, I finished the Treasury of Greek Mythology last night, but since I haven't talked about that book in a vlog recently, I didn't do a review, but I gave it a 4-star. I would recommend. It's a great reference book if you are reading Greek mythology retellings or reading those like classic bits of Greek literature. The Odyssey trailer, Christopher Nolan's movie, the teaser trailer leaked recently. So I think to prepare yourself for that movie, that book might be a good reference. It's from National Geographic, by the way. But I finished A History of Milan under the Sforza by Cecilia Mary Addy. I'm giving this a 3-star. I don't do decimals or anything like that for my nonfiction reads, but this one was a good book and I would recommend it. So I learned a lot about things that I wasn't familiar with. I don't know if this would be a great starting place for beginners. I think before going into this, you should have maybe a little background knowledge on Renaissance Italy, but this is something I've been fascinated with nearing 10 years, so it is something that I am familiar with, and I first became aware of the Sforzas 10 years ago in 2015, so I did have background knowledge before going into this, but there were bits of their history, like the start of when they rose from being peasants to nobility to being dukes, and then their downfall of Milan, the duchy, really becoming a part of Austria, being under Austrian control. So I didn't know much about that. I did know that Napoleon did, take control of Milan, but I didn't really know a lot about that. So especially at the end, there was a lot that I learned, but that doesn't really have to do with the sources. It's something completely different after their time of who came into power after they ruled, and it was just listing some of the people who did. And I didn't know there was a Duchess of Milan at one point. She was basically like the last of the, I don't even know if her connection to the source of the family tree is not great. This was published in 1907, so Italian history has changed a ton since then, going from kingdoms and fascism and all this other stuff. But there was Christiana, who was from Denmark, or Christina. Translations can be different. Into it, there were a lot of like side people who I didn't know who they were, and reading this, it's like I felt like I was supposed to know this stuff. So yeah, maybe this isn't a great place for beginners to read from, but it gave me the information that I want to know. It's very straight to the point. It's not going to dilly-dally around. It's not dense. It is accessible to read. It's not going to bear you down, bog you with a lot of information. It's very accessible and fast to read, but it is blunt, straight to the point. So if you're wanting more details, this wouldn't really be the place to go, but this was a good book and it gave me what I wanted, and that's all you can ask for. So later at 6, I will be starting our book club's book of the month, and that is The Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. Auel, the first novel in the Earth's Children series. So we'll be starting that at 6. I did turn off the fan this time. I meant just to put on stage 1, but it turned off altogether. So I did go to Target, so I want to show y'all what I got there. I got Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I've wanted this book for a long time, but they just didn't have it at any store near me for some reason. This is in the A Rebel Blue Ranch series. That's kind of a long name. But I love this cover. This is a small town brother's best friend romance. So none of those tropes have done me wrong before. Like, I don't have an opinion on those tropes, so hopefully it's good. But we are about to start the book club pick, the Raindrops book club. So if you guys want to see my like spoilery thoughts, you can join on Fable, which is linked in the description of the video and in the pinned comment. I'm not sponsored and it is completely free to join Fable, so the spoilery thoughts will be there, but also I will be updating y'all in the vlog. So let me tell y'all what The Clan of the Cave Bear is about. This book was published in 1980, by the way, so kind of like a historical classic, if you will, modern classic, I guess. So this is about our main character of Isla, who is blonde hair, blue eyes, which y'all are probably like, that's not that weird. There's a lot of people like that. This is taking place tens of thousands of years ago in prehistoric Europe. So Isla's family were all killed, displaced in a natural disaster. So Isla is just a little girl on her own, and she comes across this clan of people one day. Now this clan, they look completely different than she does, but Isa, who is one of the clan people, she takes in Isla. I think Isa is like the healing woman, you know, a shaman maybe. So she takes in Isla, and everybody is all just so fascinated by Isla because she doesn't look like them. They've never seen anybody who looks like her. But we also have this guy who, he's like the heir. He is going to be the next leader of the clan, and he is a bit hesitant. He doesn't know how he feels about having Isla there. He doesn't want her around. He's suspicious. He just thinks something is up with her. Now, why? So what is the big deal here? So those clan, the Clan of the Cave Bear, they are Neanderthals, when the Isla is a Homo sapien, which is what, you know, I am, and hopefully you are, but you might be an alien, I don't know, but modern day humans is what Isla is. Now the modern day humans, Homo sapiens, are taking over the lands where the Neanderthals have lived. So they are, I don't want to say colonizing, I feel like that's not the right word, but it might be, just taking these lands. So that is why the one guy is unsure about having her there. He's like, they're trying to get us out of here, so why should we accept her into our group? And that is what we are going to be starting today. And it's a book I've really wanted to get to for a really long time, like probably years. I don't know how long I've owned the book, but I love this trade paperback. Like, I love the flop of it. Like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. That is why I love paperbacks. That's what I love about them. And I will be following along with the audio book as well, and I will be annotating my physical copy as I read it. To 9%, which was 42 pages read in 2 hours listened to on the audiobook. So I want to go through my notes so far. We've had the introduction of Ayla, is how they're saying it on the audiobook, and the Clan of the Cave Bear. And the Clan of the Cave Bear, so as I said, there's a natural disaster, there's an earthquake, so they're looking for a new cave to call home, because these, again, are Neanderthals. And if you don't know that scientific word, the like series of little cavemen you see, those are Neanderthals, so they did live in caves. But I want to go through my notes. We have a map, so we're down in like the Ukraine, Russia, Crimea area. I'm pretty sure. I think that's where that is. Also in the fable, it says there's a character guide. My copy does not have that, sadly. But with chapter 1, so our first scene, we are having an earthquake, and that's just not how, I mean, I knew there was going to be a natural disaster, but I didn't think that would be exactly how we start. So it's like an earthquake in the ancient world. That's just kind of crazy to think about. And we're having a lot of detail, like describing this world that we're in. So we're getting all that world building right off the bat. Again, this is like a whole other world for us. I mean, I showed you all that map. This is Europe. This is a place we're familiar with. Do you see all that's glacier covering up like half the continent? You can see what is modern day Britain is connected to like the Netherlands and France. So this world is very different than the world that we call home, even if it is the same world. There's different races, as in the Neanderthals, the Homo sapiens, that kind of thing. There's just so much that's different. Animals are bigger than the animals that we have now. Megafauna is that word. So you're having to build that world. And so that first chapter, I think, is really saying this is a world that is dangerous. It is hard to survive in this world. It's filled with all different kinds of dangers that are natural dangers. Then we go into the second chapter, and we are introduced to our clan of people. So we have Izzy, and Izzy's like not what I expected. She's 20 years old. She is pregnant, and I was like, so 20 might be, because they thought she was infertile for a long time until, you know, she got pregnant. And so 20 might be kind of old for them, but obviously we always have to think like people now are having kids later than they were, you know, 100 years ago. So I don't know what the lifespan of a Neanderthal person is, but I was expecting like a middle-aged woman who has seen a lot of the world and everything. So I mean, 20 might still be considered middle age in this time period. I'm not sure, but it wasn't really how I pictured Izzy to be, and like the meeting of how they met isn't really how I pictured it would be. And so we know that Izzy's pregnant, so I'm like, what happened to her mate? Like, where's he? Yeah, they say mates, so don't think I'm assuming they're mates, because that'd be kind of weird, but that's how they refer to it. And so my theory, okay, I think I'll say, so I think he died in the earthquake, and yeah, that is correct. So, and the women relied on their men to lead, to assume responsibility, to make important decisions. The clan had changed so little in nearly 100,000 years. They were now incapable of change. Like, that is crazy to me. 100,000 years they've been around and doing this kind of stuff. Like, the human mind cannot comprehend that, cannot comprehend it. Then we get the title of the book mentioned on page 25. I only just have to underline, highlight when that happens. But as I was saying, there's a whole lot of info dumping in this book, and that can get a little overwhelming for me, where like this paragraph here, this will be my third time rereading it. So all those primitive people with no frontal lobes and speech limited by underdeveloped vocal organs, but with huge brains, larger than any race of man then living or future generations yet unborn. And that's something that confuses me at times when it will talk about the future. Like when it talked about like the megafauna, it was like the lions that Ayla was seeing are bigger than the lions that will live in the savannas further south in thousands of years. So, like, I get what the author's doing, but that only is just like, whoa, jolting, you know. But back to this. The cultivation of a branch of mankind whose brain was developed in the back of their heads, and the occipital and their parietal regions that control vision and bodily sensation and store memory. And their memory made them extraordinary. In them, the unconscious knowledge of ancestral behavior called instinct had evolved. Stored in the back of their large brains were not just their own memories, but the memories of their forebears. They could recall knowledge learned by their ancestors, and under special circumstances, they could go a step beyond. They could recall their racial memory, their own evolution. And when they reached back far enough, they could merge that memory that was identical for all and join their minds telepathically. So that's just a lot for me to take in at once. But this is incredibly fascinating. So something I talk about quite a lot with history and all, and I'm just going to hold my own little bear here because I want to fidget. And I just was like, oh my gosh, cool. Fine. So we talk about how the world, when you watch these historical shows or you read books, it used to have like a magic to it, you know, like the gods and everything. And there used to be like oh, that howling you hear in the woods at night, spirits, when obviously we know it's wolves, and lightning is, we know it's from the heat in the air and everything. We are like, there's no magic in the world anymore. It's like, no, it's because we evolved and we know about science. We've educated ourselves on these things. But then I was like, what if, so if humans evolved from Neanderthals, again, if, I don't know if they did, don't come for me. But if they did, and the further we've gotten away from that Neanderthal DNA, as that DNA has dwindled through time, what if all of that telepathy and the having that ancestral knowledge going back thousands of years to creation, what if that has dwindled over time? Now, obviously this is from a book, this isn't scientific, but I thought that was interesting. So some of these instances are just really interesting like that. So now we're on chapter 3. Again, so I thought this was kind of cool with Izzy. So stored in her brain at birth was the knowledge acquired by her ancestors, the ancient line of medicine women, of which Izzy was a direct descendant. She could remember what they knew. It was not much different from her recalling her own experience, and once stimulated, the process was automatic. So, and then it's like memories in the clan, people were sex deviated or whatever, so women had no need for hunting lore. So the men had that like hunting memory when the women would have that medical memory. Again, I don't know really how that works, but it's interesting. And then lastly, seeing the differences of the cultures between the clan and the others, or you know, the Homo sapiens. I'm wondering if we're going to see what the cultures of those modern human beings, how it is different from the Neanderthals, and will we see any scenes of what the culture of humans was like at this time. So those are my thoughts on the Clan of the Caber today. So yes, I am enjoying it, but it has been a lot of info dumping and world building for this first like 10%. Hey guys, happy Thursday. Y'all know I always like to do my mail time with y'all. I don't have any book mail, but I do have clothes. So a few weeks ago I got rid of a jacket because I've gained weight, so it didn't fit me anymore, but I really love that jacket, so I wanted to just get it in another size. So this isn't exactly, this is leather rather than suede, and it's fake leather, fake suede. So this is what I found that was like the closest thing. I'm still gonna keep looking for, oh, this is a medium? Guys, I didn't realize it was a medium. I thought I got a small. So this might be too big. This might be too big. It smells good. Sometimes you'll get stuff and it will just, the smell will be so strong. Like I got a Zach Bryan t-shirt and it just smelled like hairspray. It was too much. But this like leather moto, again vegan leather kind of jacket, I was seeing it had like a name on it, so I did not realize it was a medium. But I'm going to be doing a try on TikTok, so, and Facebook, so if you're curious about that. But that day I always like to see what they say. So it's a Abercrombie & Fitch suede vegan leather moto jacket, size medium. So it said medium. I don't know why I thought it was a small, but they were like, thank you for your purchase, I hope you love it. And it came to us from Kentucky. Now this one's coming to us from Austin. Never been to Austin. That's one of the like top places I would like to travel to. And the cowboy robot that I keep showing everybody I know, it's so cute. No, like people, you know, like Robot Invasion, you gotta be nice to them, like you treat everybody with kindness. This is how I treat my Jaws the vacuum cleaner, who is a robot. Gotta treat him with kindness. But this robot, he's so cute with this little cowboy hat, and he was like running through the street, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't be saying a robot's cute, but I just thought he was adorable. So but yeah, that was in Austin. But I got 2 vintage pieces. So all these are like fall pieces. Leather I would probably say for winter, but I got this like trench coat made in the USA. So it is like a wool on the outside, so that's kind of itchy to me, but the inside is this nice lined with this. This is the tag, Miss Cobmore since 1902. Oh, and okay, that was that. So this is really like big overcoat. I just think this is so nice. Again, the wool is itchy, feeling it on my like bare legs. And I sent this little like flowers, like flower petals. But this one says, Elizabeth, I truly, oh, well, thank you for shopping in small and sustainably. Elizabeth, I truly hope you love your new to you vintage piece and it brings you joy and inspiration as you give it new life. Thank you for your support. I'm so grateful. And this is from Carissa, I think. And it says, please, so if you guys want to follow them, it's Keep Earth Vintage. And then that's their little logo. Not sponsored or anything. So then this blazer is tweed. Feels like a basket or something. So this blazer is by Jones, New York. Again, made in the USA. It does have some shoulder pad action going on. Are the pockets raw? I'm gonna say no. With blazers are usually, oh, they're real. They're real. We love that. So you have 4 pockets on the outside. So those are the pieces that I got. So when I try these on, it's gonna be very hot. But that's my mail haul, my mail time for the week. Again, sorry there's no book mail, but just haven't purchased any books, I guess. I've just got some clothes that I have been wanting for a little while. They've been in the cart forever. So, you know, finally bit the bullet and bought them. And again, it's sustainable for the earth and, you know, we love that, buying things secondhand. So I'm going to go film some TikToks that are fashion related, and then I have a long while until I read again. I think like 2 hours. So after I do that, I will eat lunch. I'll more stuff a snack because I ate lunch and I had McDonald's. Like my dad got me McDonald's and I just like gobbled it down. So I just felt huge. I just was stuffed after eating all that. So I'm not gonna have a big lunch today. I think, as I said, I'm just gonna have some snacks. But yeah, I'm gonna go film some TikToks. It is time for an update for y'all. I am literally just drenched in sweat. It's disgusting. But we're here to go through my notes for the day. I read 63 pages, so I got over the 100 page mark. And okay, I was like, did the tap go or the dog ear go away? So this cave that they find, it's really just like, seems like such an ideal place. Like maybe we should be cave people again. I'm joking. But about totems, which are essentially spirit animals to these people, and how this one was chosen. I was just like, oh my gosh, because I recognized it, then he recognized it. I was like, yeah, here we go. So every chapter in this book adds something. There's not a lot of filler. Like every chapter, every word has its purpose to the story. Every chapter is adding something to the story, and I think that's so important, just to not waste your words and to actually be using them and not wasting everybody's time. So as I told y'all yesterday, Izzy's pregnant. I think the baby's gonna be a boy, but I probably won't know until tomorrow, which that won't be in the vlog. But Fable, if y'all want to see the live thoughts of scenes that are not going to be in the vlog. It's like so much science with this book. Like I'll read y'all this these 2 paragraphs here. Many ages before, men and women, far more primitive than Bronn and his 5 hunters, learned to compete for game with 4-legged predators by watching and copying their methods. They saw, for example, how wolves working together could bring down prey many times larger and more powerful than themselves. Over time, using tools and weapons rather than claws and fangs, they learned that by cooperating, they too could hunt the large beasts and share their environment. It prodded them along their evolutionary journey. So I just want to know how much science and research was done in this book, or if the author was just going more with vibes and feelings. Like, this just seems like how the Neanderthals would have lived. Or did she actually do a lot of scientific research for the book? I have no idea. So, I mean, because I don't know if this stuff is, like, you know, true or not. John's son, who is Brood. So he has this, like, wonderful hunt. Everything goes so well for him. And I'm like, Ayla, she's going to take his shine away. Like, I just bet, like, I don't think those 2 are going to like each other. But yeah, in that chapter, there was a lot about, like, childbirth for these people and if there are contraceptions, like how they used those. Also just the gender roles in this society of, like, the men being hunters, the women, and the women can't even really have a role in religion either. But the women have to, like, follow along with the hunters because they have to get the meat ready and all of that to prepare the food and just take care of the household is basically the job of the women. But then you have Izzy, who's like the medicine woman, so she has the highest status of being a woman in this society by ancestry. Then we have Ibra, I think is her name, who is Bron's wife. So she's married or mated to the guy who's like the leader of the clan. So there's kind of a like one-sided rivalry there, right, about there being that. Then we just have a lot of cultural building, like when they have to go claim this cave, and just seeing a lot of their customs and all. We see a lot of that in that chapter. Out of the comparing that these are like the parkland between prairie and foothills was home to aurochs, the dark brown or black wild cattle that were the ancestors of gentler domestic breeds. I talked about that yesterday with just going with the modern comparisons. I don't think that's needed. And this is something I thought was interesting. So we get a lot of lists in this section because this chapter, the start of the chapter was really doing a lot of building of the ecosystem of what the nature is like around their home. So it's saying like all these names. So let's say ground squirrels, great jerboas, giant hamsters, pikas, and a few never named and lost to extinction. And that's crazy to me that we can think there were these living things that we have no idea existed. We don't have a name for it. As I said, we have no idea it existed. That was just like, whoa, crazy to think about. And then just describing this land, it says, the land was unbelievably rich, and man only an insignificant faction of the multifarious life that lived and died in that cold ancient Eden. And I was thinking of Eden as well. So the author and I seem to be thinking a lot alike, and that's always fun. Isla cries because she gets her feelings hurt. You know, she's a little kid, even though sometimes as an adult you will cry. But Kareb is like, Izzy, come here, something's wrong with her. Like water's coming out of her eyes, because for the clan, the Neanderthals, when they cry or when the water comes out their eyes, it's only because like they have an eyelash in their eye or dirt got into their eye, something like that, like the eye is hurt. But so they're all like, what's wrong with her? Why is she doing that? So I thought that was kind of interesting that they don't cry. And so I'm like, why do we cry? Is it like, how does that stem? Like, is that just some, I don't understand. I can't really put it into words. Is that something that it's like first you're sad, then you cry? Or like, how did that become a thing? How did crying because you're sad become a thing? Is it just something that happens? Or is it something like, I'm sad, I'm going to cry, like commutes in the brain? I don't know how that works, and I've never thought about that. And something that I'm realizing with this is one of those books that you're kind of learning as the character does. We're learning as Isla learns about this culture. It's not really like the Poppy War where you're at the school and learning about it, or like, Harry Potter where you're at the school and learning as the character learns, but we're just progressively learning more and more about this culture. I think there will be a future love triangle with Olga, Ayla, and not Brood. It should have been, Brood is the son. So yeah, I think there's going to be a love triangle one day between those, but I don't know. Ayla has nightmares to like her previous life a lot, so I'm curious, do the members of the clan, do they have dreams? Did they dream? Do they have nightmares? Like, I'm curious if that's a thing. I said there's just a lot of ecosystem building in that chapter. So I am at 22%. I am liking this book. I would say high 3-star right now, but at this point there's still a lot to go, and that might change because it might. So that's where I would say it's at in the ratings right now. But let's wrap up the vlog here. So I have completed 3 books this week with The Last Housewife, Greek Mythology, and a History of Milan under the Sforza. So I finished the 3 books. I have not read over 100 pages every day. On Tuesday I only read 95. And I have hauled books this week. We went to Barnes & Noble this week, and I got a book at Target. So we have hauled books, but in July I don't write them down because I don't limit my buying in July. So this is my birthday month. I can buy as many books as I want to buy. Now, the theme for next week's vlog is just still going to be the Clan of the Cave Bear, but more focused on that, since this week we started the week with a history of Milan. So next week's vlog is most likely going to be this book 100%. So if you are still curious of my thoughts on the Clan of the Cave Bear by Jean M. Ole, is like how they said on the audiobook. So this is what I'm going to be reading in next week's vlog still. So if you have enjoyed this one, next week's vlog is going to be a lot of the same thing. Oh yeah, there's gonna be some slight differences in the next Switch vlog. I don't want to talk about it yet, but nothing to do with the reading. At least I don't think it will impact the reading, but you never know. But that's where I'm going to be ending the vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you made it all the way through, leave a red emoji in the comments below. And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.